One of the things I'm most often asked is, okay, now that I've created this website, how do I put it out on the web? How do I move it from something that I've put on your class server into something that I have in the real world? And so I'm going to show you one way to do it, and the process is basically the same with whoever you choose to go with. But I happen to personally use GoDaddy. This is not an endorsement of GoDaddy. It just is a way for me to show you how to do it. And the way that you start is you go to whatever site, and you're going to have to identify what domain do you want. So you can choose, and in this case you choose the domain, and what it'll do is it'll tell you how much it's going to cost you for the different types of domains. So like a .com, and then it's going to give you the price. And it happens to be that right now they have sales going on, but those are probably actually their standard prices. So there's all different types of domains that you can use. I'm going to look for a .com just to show you the process. So say that I wanted to look at kevinwtharp.com. So I would click on Go, and it would tell me that it's already registered. And that I knew that was going to be the case because I've already owned it. So it gives you other options that you could do that, or you can go back and you can try a different domain. So let's just look at DocTharp and see if that's available. Okay, so that is available. So what I could do is I could go ahead and choose to add that to my shopping cart, and then I would go and pay for that at whatever rate. And you can usually register a domain for a year or 2 or 5 or probably 10 years. So that's the first part. The second part is the hosting, and that's where you are contracting with a company to set up a server for you and maintain that server. And the number of options that are out there will boggle the mind. So when you go through, there's things to look at, such as do you have support? What kind of bandwidth do you have? Because some places have very limited bandwidth. What are the operating systems that you're going to want to use? So you need to make a decision. What am I going to use this site for? For instance, if you're going to use active ASP.NET, you're going to want to choose a Windows server. If you're going to want to do PHP or something like that, you might want to choose Linux. And you can research that. You can always choose the operating system later as well. The other thing is the number of websites. Do you just want one website, or do you want a number of them? How much disk space are you going to need? How many databases are you going to want to use? Are you going to want to have email addresses associated with this? And then it goes into some other things that are not as important, but those top things are. So what you would then do is choose the set of things that you want to do. Now, I recently experienced a situation where I needed to set it up so that I could have a bunch of students with access to their own databases and with their own websites. So I chose this deluxe package where right now it's on sale for $4.49 a month. So if you buy for a month, then what happens is at this particular point in time, they'll give you a free domain name with the hosting plan. So it's something like $53 for the first 12 months. I get the hosting and I get a free domain name for that time period. So that's a pretty reasonable way to get started. So then you would just enter, in this case, you would enter the domain that you're going to want to do. Now you're going to notice that they're going to want to try and upsell you. Any service provider is going to try and do that. They're going to try and upsell you. And so I'm just going to choose doctharp.com. I'll do the search there just to say it's available. So I'm going to add that to my cart. And then when I come in here, what it's going to do is it's going to show me that I've got my hosting in here. I've got my domain name in here. And then I would just go to checkout and pay for it. Once that happens, then what they're going to do is they're going to set up your account. They're going to ask you for all the typical information, and then they're going to start setting up your domain and going forward from there. After you've gone through the shopping cart and purchased your hosting and domain, you'll get an email from most providers, and it's going to look like something like this. It's going to tell you what products you've done. And now you're going to have to do one of two things. In this case, GoDaddy gives you this activate button that goes to the website to try and launch it. In other places, you're going to have to log into the server or where you're hosting it, and you're going to have to go through steps to set it up. And what you'll do in the process is you're going to have to choose, like I was pointing out before, do you want it hosted on Linux or PC? They might say Apache. There's going to be different settings, and you just have to come to grips that each one's going to be a little bit different, but that it's not a real difficult process. And let me show you some more things to notice. Now, what I've done is for one of my classes that I'm trying to give them PHP access, I have purchased a domain, stoutwebtech.com, and I've purchased hosting for them. And so in this case, I come to it's just a tool that allows me to see my account, the different things. And at the moment, I'm waiting for them to have my website set up. So at the moment, I choose launch, and what it's going to do is it's telling me it's setting up. So it's going to take a little while for it to get set up, not a long time, and it's going to depend upon the server, who you're buying purchasing the services from, how long it's going to take. But they will set up the account, and there's a little bit of information here, such as the operating system. I chose Linux because I want to use PHP and MySQL. You can make those decisions, and they have tools in there. And if you need to ask somebody, usually there's a phone number where you can contact them and ask them what would be the best deal. So after this gets set up, I'll continue with this recording, and I'll show you how you actually go about setting up the service. But before we get to that, there's one more thing that I want to point out. When you are setting up the domain name, it's going to ask you for 4 types of contacts. The first one is the registrant. That's basically the person who owns the domain. The second one is the administrative. That's the person who handles the non-technical interactions between your service provider and whoever is owning it. Then there's the technical. This is the person where if there are problems that are related to technical issues, say you have been serving out viruses, that kind of thing, and they need to get in touch with somebody that is the technical contact. That's who that is. And then, of course, there is the billing contact. So those are 4 things that you'll need to set up. After they've done this, normally they're going to set up the name servers and the DNS manager. You can change those later once you understand what's going on, but generally speaking, you're going to want to use the default. And those are the main things that you need to know, because they're going to ask you at different times. You may be asked these kinds of questions, and that information is all included in there.